In the year 1972, on 2nd March, very important report was published, that is Limits to Growth. That Limits to Growth report was published by the Club of Rome's. Environment consists of 4 important components. First one is lithosphere, a solid surface of the earth. Second one is atmosphere, which surrounds to us, that is the layer of the gases. And the third important layer of our atmosphere is hydrosphere, so which acts as one of the largest aquatic ecosystem for the organisms, right? What kind of organisms? Aquatic organisms. And the fourth one is the biosphere, and it is very important component of our environment. So because this biosphere is the life existing component of our environment. Hello everyone, myself Vilas. So today we are here to discuss about environment and its importance, right? So environment is very important subject in UPSC because more than 20 questions repeats from environment and ecology in prelims exam. Around 60 to 80 marks questions repeats in GS3 of our UPSC mains exam, right? And that is the reason it is high yielding area in the UPSC preparation. So here environment, so why it is most important? So because please remember, even United Nations also made it is mandatory to all the nations, they have to add environment syllabus in their curriculum or in the syllabus, and it even became mandatory in your engineering also because you have to qualify this environment ecology. So because environment is very important for the survival. Without environment, without any habitat, a living organism can't exist, right? So for the survival, the living organism should interact each other, and for the interaction we need the environment, we need the ecosystem, we need the habitat. And what is the need of interaction? Again, for the survival. So what includes the survival, right? The organisms needs the food, organisms needs the shelter, organisms needs so even the reproduction. And for these purposes, so organisms should interact each other, and that interaction we call a biotic interaction. And the place where this interactions takes place, we call this beautiful environment, right? And environment consists of 4 important components. First one is lithosphere, which we call a solid surface of the earth. Second one is atmosphere, which surrounds to us, that is the layer of the gases. And the third important layer of our atmosphere is hydrosphere, so which acts as one of the largest aquatic ecosystem for the organisms, right? What kind of organisms? Aquatic organisms. And the fourth one is the biosphere, and it is very important component of our environment. So because this biosphere is the life existing component of our environment, and this biosphere is the transition zone or the common zone or life existing zone of 3 layers: lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. And nowadays the environmental issues are increasing, so because of the developmental activities. So in industrial era, so because of industrial development, industrial revolution in European countries, American countries, so that environmental degradation started. And most of the developed countries of Europe and developed countries of America, in the mad race of development, they completely ignored the conservation of environment, and they mainly focused on the development. What kind of development? Economic development, social development, but they completely ignored the environmental conservation. And that is the reason in the year 1972, on 2nd March, very important report was published, that is Limits to Growth. That Limits to Growth report was published by the Club of Rome's. And in that report, it is clearly mentioned all the developed countries, the way they are giving importance to development, at the same time they have to give importance to the environment also. So because for a coin there are 2 faces, that is head and tail, right? The way a coin having 2 faces, is at the same time for the existence of environment we need both, that is environment as well as the development. And that report clearly mentions that the European and American countries, the way they are focusing on the development, at the same time they have to focus on the environment. And immediately one international conference was called by United Nations, and that conference was held in Stockholm city of Sweden country, and that conference was held on 5th June 1972. As it was held on 5th June, that day will celebrate as a World Environment Day every year. It's a very important day in the history of environment, the 5th June, because on the 5th June 1972, first time the international gathering, international meeting, international conference was held, and around 113 countries were participated or gathered in that meeting, including India also. So the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, who is famously known as Iron Lady of country, so she participated or she represented India in the Stockholm conference, and she also highlighted two important issues, and the most important issue highlighted by Indira Gandhi was, so the poverty and development are the two important polluters of this environment, in which development has remedy but poverty does not. Its meaning, the poor countries, they are having interest, right? They are willing to conserve environment, but they don't have the money, they don't have the technology to conserve it. At the same time, developed country, they are having both. They are having money also, they are having technology also, but they are not having the interest to conserve the environment. And that's why she says very categorically, so here poverty, meaning poor countries having the interest but don't have the money to conserve the environment. Developed countries having the money, having the technology, but they are not having the interest, they are not willing to conserve the environment. And because of these two factors, sir, environmental pollutions are increasing, right? Very important point. And even she said very categorically, so India might be developing country, India might be poor country, but please remember, India will take the strict actions, India will take the initiatives to conserve its environment. And immediately when she returned from Stockholm conference in the year 1972, in the same year during the winter session, so Parliament has passed the one important act called Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It's a very, very important act, Wildlife Protection Act, because it protects all types of, means all major flora, fauna, and even birds of this country, and even it plays very crucial role in the conservation of wildlife in India, right? And this is a very important conference, and during this conference, Stockholm conference, one organization, one institution was established, that is UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, was established during this conference. And this organization played very crucial role in the management of or in the conservation of environment. And after 1972, the most important initiative which was started by United Nations, so that is establishment of World Commission on Environment and Development. So in the year 1983, World Commission on Environment and Development was established, and this commission was headed by or chaired by a famous, the then Prime Minister of Norway country, so Harlem Brundtland. So Harlem Brundtland became the chairman of this World Commission on Environment and Development, and that is the reason this commission famously known as a Brundtland Commission. And this Brundtland Commission so took around 4 to 5 years to prepare one report, and this commission submitted its report in the year 1987 with title Our Common Future. That title itself says the future is common to each and everyone, whether it is a developed country or developing country. But the future is common to each and everyone. The best example, so 2019, the COVID-19 called famously that COVID-19 pandemic, it was common to a poor country like Uganda, Somalia. It was common for developed countries like USA and many European countries also. With money, with technology, sometime we have to become a smaller in front of the environment. Environment is powerful, and that is the reason. So Darwin says that, so nature is an active factor and powerful factor, but humans are a passive factor. So when the environment will take a call, so we have to surrender to the environment. And that's why he says that, so that he has given the theory called a Darwin's theory of natural selection. The nature will select the fittest one, right? And that's why, so nature is very powerful, and without nature we can't survive, and we have to conserve the nature. The same thing highlighted in the Brundtland Commission report also. So nature is very important for the survival of the living organisms, and the future is common to each and everyone, and that is the reason. It is the responsibility of all the countries to conserve its beautiful nature and to lead a dignified life. And immediately in the year 1988, one more important organization was established, that is IPCC. So Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change was established in 1988 by United Nations Environment Program and WMO, World Meteorological Organization. So these two organizations together established IPCC, and this IPCC is very important, like part of our United Nations, and this IPCC will give the scientific ideas, suggestions to the governments, and the governments, they have to follow the instructions given by the IPCC to manage climate change and global warming in their countries. And till date, as of October 2024, IPCC has submitted 6 reports, and the 6th report is very important. The 6th report says that all the countries, they have to participate, they have to join their hands to achieve zero carbon emissions, right? And that also should be achieved by the year 2050. If the countries fails to achieve zero carbon emissions by the year 2050, then most of the glaciers on the planet Earth will melt, and due to melting of the glaciers, the sea level will rise, and with rise in sea level, so most of the island countries like Maldives, Indonesia, Malaysia, most of the island countries will be under the water by the year 2050, right? It is very important point to note. So because the way we are emitting the greenhouse gases in the name of development, and if you not bring any any halt, or if you not bring any a decrease in these emissions, then definitely it causes the global warming. And after few years, in upcoming futures, so we have to face the problems of this global warming and melting of glaciers and rise in the sea level. And based on the recommendation of IPCC and based on the recommendation of Brundtland Commission, one more important conference was held in Rio de Janeiro city of Brazil country, and that convention was held on 5th June 1992, that is after 20 years of Stockholm conference. And in that Rio summit, it is also known as Earth Summit, so because the important problems of Earth was discussed during that Rio summit or the Earth Summit, and that important problems were, right, first one is land degradation, second one is climate change, and third one is loss of biodiversity. These 3 important topics were discussed, and these 3 are the major problems of our beautiful Earth, our planet Earth. And during this Rio summit, during this Earth Summit, 3 international conventions were signed to manage these issues. And the first international convention, which is very important for your prelims and mains and even for the interview also, and that convention is UNFCCC. UNFCCC means United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Second convention, UNCBD, United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity, UNCBD. And one more is UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. These 3 important conventions were signed, and these 3 conventions we call as a Rio Conventions. And these 3 Rio Conventions played a very crucial role in managing climate change, global warming, desertification, and loss of biodiversity. And every year, right, every year COP, Conference of Parties, will be held, right? COP of UNFCCC, COP of UNCBD, and COP of UNCCD. And as of date, so around 28 meetings of UNFCCC are completed. So that we call COP28, right? And that's last COP held in the Dubai, you know very well, right? And the next COP will be held very soon in Baku, Azerbaijan, in next month only, November month only. And then UNCBD. So as of date, UNCBD meetings, around 15 meetings are completed, right? And the next meeting will be in Colombia, that is the COP16 of UNCBD will be held in Colombia country, and Colombia country located in South America. And as of date, so total 15 meetings of UNCCD are completed, and the next and that last COP recently held again in Côte d'Ivoire, and the next COP, that is 16th COP or 16th meeting of UNCCD will be held in Saudi Arabia, right? They are very, very important conventions, and these three conventions played very crucial role in managing many environmental issues. And finally, in the year 2015, one of the world famous, a universal, so Paris Agreement also signed, and the main objective of Paris Agreement is reducing the global temperature and limiting the global temperature well below 2 degrees Celsius by this 21st century. And if possible, all the countries should join their hand to limit it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And this Paris Agreement signed in the year 2015, and that was COP21 of UNFCCC. Means in the 21st meeting of UNFCCC, this Paris Agreement was signed, and that was the first meeting for our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, right? And in that meeting, so India signed one treaty or agreement with France to establish International Solar Alliance. International Solar Alliance was established in 2015, and it's a very important organization. So because it focuses on the renewable source of energy, so that is solar energy. And this ISA having headquarter in India, that is at Gurugram city of Haryana state. And this ISA having member countries mainly from the tropical region, and it having two important objectives. First objective, generation of around 1000 gigawatt of electric energy, that is a solar energy, by the year 2030. And second important objective, collecting $1,000 billion of fund from the developed countries, to assist or to help the poor countries. And like that, many initiatives are taken by the India and even by the world to conserve our beautiful environment, right? It is a small episode again, like that, very hot and very burning topics. So we'll come with the next episode. Please join your hand with Amigos IAS. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.